What does it take to tame a monster? Not a cage, not a chain, but a whisper of kindness in a world of screams. This is the story of a king who ruled an empire of shadows, a man whose heart was a frozen wasteland, and the invisible girl, a waitress with nothing to her name but a spine of steel, who walked into his world and showed him that the most terrifying thing is not death, but the thought of living without the one person who makes you feel alive. Damien Blackwood exists in a world of tailored silence and controlled violence. He moves through the city like a wraith in a bespoke suit, his presence a pressure drop in any room he enters. Men with fortunes that could buy nations fall silent when his eyes, the color of a winter storm, fall upon them. His empire is built on whispers and bone, a sprawling network of legitimate facades and lightless depths where his true power resides. He is not a businessman. He is an architect of ruin, a king whose throne is fashioned from the fear of his enemies. Tonight, he stands on a mezzanine overlooking a charity gala, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. The crystal is cold against his fingers, a familiar and grounding sensation. Below, the city's elite glitter and preen, a flock of peacocks unaware of the hawks circling above. He despises these events, the forced smiles and empty chatter, a grating symphony of falsehoods. But power requires maintenance, and sometimes that means standing in the light, a predator masquerading as one of the herd. His gaze is a physical weight, scanning the crowd with detached analysis. He sees assets, threats, and pawns. He does not see people. People were a luxury he had excised from his life long ago, a weakness that had cost him everything. A memory, sharp and jagged, tries to surface, the scent of lavender and the sound of a child's laughter, but he crushes it with brutal efficiency. Emotion is a liability, a vulnerability to be exploited. His fiancée, Isabella Thorne, is down there, a vision in crimson silk. She is a perfect accessory, beautiful, well-connected, and utterly devoid of the warmth that he so viscerally rejects. Theirs is an alliance, a merger of power and influence, not a union of hearts. His heart is a locked, empty vault. He ensures it remains that way. He feels a vibration in his pocket and glances at the screen. A single word from Julian, his head of security, who stands like a granite statue by the exit. Secure. It means the perimeter is clean, the threats neutralized. For now. Damien takes a slow sip, the burn of the scotch a dull echo of the cold fire that fuels him. He is a machine of command and control. He owns this building, this night, these people. He owns everything his eyes can see. Yet he feels nothing. Not pride, not satisfaction. Only a vast, sterile emptiness. A kingdom of one. Miles away, in a cramped apartment that smells of lemon-scented cleaner and looming debt, Ilara Vance counts her tips for the third time. The pile of crumpled bills and loose change is pitifully small. It will not be enough. It is never enough. The red-lettered eviction notice on the counter seems to mock her, its stark warning a constant hum of anxiety in the back of her mind. She looks at her younger brother, Leo, asleep on the pull-out couch, his breathing shallow. The medical bills for his asthma treatments are a mountain she can never seem to climb. She works 2 jobs, a diner waitress by day, a caterer for high-end events by night. Her body is a testament to exhaustion. Her hands raw from hot water and harsh soap. Her feet perpetually aching in worn-out black flats. She is invisible. A ghost who refills water glasses and clears away plates, her presence acknowledged only when a need arises. She has learned to move silently, to keep her eyes down, to make herself small. In the world of the wealthy, a world she briefly touches but will never belong to, invisibility is a form of survival. To be noticed is to be judged, And to be judged is to risk the meager income that keeps her and Leo afloat. Her uniform, a simple black dress and a starched white apron, is clean but frayed at the seams, much like her hope. She had dreams once, of art school and colours on a canvas. But life had painted her world in shades of grey, a relentless landscape of responsibility and sacrifice. She looks at Leo again, his face so peaceful in sleep, and the exhaustion hardens into resolve. For him, she would walk through fire. For him, she endures. Tonight's job is at the Blackwood Tower Gala. It is the kind of event that pays more, but the pressure is immense. The guests are demanding, their casual cruelty a sharp sting against her frayed nerves. She straightens her apron, tucks a stray strand of honey blonde hair behind her ear, and puts on her professional face, a mask of polite subservience. It is time to enter the lion's den. The ballroom is an assault on the senses. A galaxy of chandeliers drips light onto a sea of silk and diamonds. The air is thick with expensive perfume and the low thrum of powerful conversations. Elara moves through the glittering crowd with a tray of champagne flutes, her movements practiced and fluid. She keeps her gaze fixed on the task at hand, ignoring the condescending glances and dismissive waves. She is a function, not a person. A young waiter, barely older than Leo, stumbles nearby, jostled by a careless guest. His tray of canapés clatters to the floor, a messy splash of sauce marring the polished marble. A collective gasp ripples through the immediate vicinity. Elara's heart clenches in sympathy for the boy, whose face has gone deathly pale. Isabella Thorne, Damien's fiancée, turns with a sneer that curdles her beautiful features. Her voice, sharp and cold as breaking glass, cuts through the murmur. "You clumsy idiot! Do you have any idea how much this dress costs? You've ruined it." She points a perfectly manicured finger at a minuscule, almost invisible speck on the hem of her crimson gown. The boy is trembling, stammering apologies. I'm so sorry, miss. It was an accident. I can try to clean it." "Clean it?" Isabella laughs, a cruel, ugly sound. "With what? Your pathetic salary? You should be fired. In fact, I'll see to it personally." Something inside Elara snaps. It is the injustice, the casual cruelty of it all. She sees Leo's face in the young waiter's terrified expression. She sees a lifetime of being stepped on, of being made to feel small and worthless. And for the first time in a long time, she refuses to be invisible. She steps forward, placing her own tray on a nearby table. Her voice is quiet but firm, a clear, steady bell in the sudden silence. "It was an accident. He was pushed." She looks directly into Isabella's shocked eyes, her own gaze unwavering. Isabella's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rise in disbelief. "And who are you? Another one of the servants?" The word hangs in the air, thick with disdain. "My name is Elara Vance," she says, her chin held high, "and he deserves to be treated with respect." From the mezzanine above, Damien Blackwood watches the scene unfold. He had been about to turn away, bored by the predictable drama. But then he sees her, the waitress. He sees her step out from the shadows of her station, a flicker of defiance in a room full of sycophants. He sees the steel in her spine, the fire in her eyes as she stands up to Isabella, a woman who could crush her with a single phone call. He is not intrigued. He is stunned. In his world, defiance is a death sentence. For a servant to challenge a queen is unheard of. It is illogical. It is suicide. Yet she does it without hesitation. He watches as Isabella's face contorts with rage, her hand raising as if to strike. And he feels something stir within the frozen vault of his chest. A flicker of something. It is an unfamiliar, unwelcome sensation. Before Isabella's hand can make contact, a low, cold voice echoes from the top of the grand staircase. "Isabella!" The single word is not loud, but it cuts through the ballroom like a shard of ice. Every head turns. Damien Blackwood descends the stairs, his movements deliberate and menacing. The air grows cold, the festive atmosphere evaporating into pure, undiluted fear. He does not look at Isabella. His stormy eyes are fixed on Elara. He stops just a few feet away, his presence an overwhelming force. He sees the slight tremble in her hands, but her eyes do not waver from his. She is terrified, yet she stands her ground. It is the most courageous thing he has seen in a decade. He finally turns his gaze to his fiancée. What is the meaning of this? His voice is deceptively soft, a predator's purr. Isabella, flustered, immediately changes her tune, adopting a victimized tone. Damien, darling, this clumsy girl and her friend ruined my dress, and then she was incredibly rude to me. Damien's eyes flicker to the terrified young waiter, then back to Elara. He takes in her worn shoes, the frayed hem of her uniform, and the fierce, unyielding dignity in her expression. He has seen generals with less courage. He has broken men with more power. He looks back at Isabella, and for the first time, he sees her for what she truly is: shallow, cruel, and weak. An unworthy accessory, a flaw in his perfectly curated world. The engagement is off, he states, the words flat and final. A collective, disbelieving gasp fills the ballroom. Isabella's face drains of all color. What? Damien, you can't be serious. Over this nobody? You embarrassed yourself, he says, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. More importantly, you embarrassed me. Julian, he calls without raising his voice. The monolithic bodyguard appears at his side instantly. See to it that Mr. Thorne and his daughter are escorted from the premises, and liquidate all our shared assets by morning. Their family is no longer under my protection. It is a death sentence, delivered with the casual air of ordering dinner. The Thorne family fortune, propped up by its association with him, will crumble to dust by sunrise. Isabella stares at him, her mouth agape in horror, before Julian gently but firmly takes her arm. She is ruined, and she knows it. The crowd parts as she is led away, a pariah in the very circle she once ruled. Damien pays them no mind. His attention is solely on the waitress who started it all. He steps closer to Elara, who watches him with a mixture of terror and disbelief. He notices a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. He does not know why, but the sight of it infuriates him. It is a mark of vulnerability he feels an overwhelming urge to erase. He lifts a hand, his gloved fingers hesitating for a fraction of a second before he gently, almost reverently, brushes the tear from her skin. The contact is electric, a jolt of warmth against the perpetual ice of his existence. Her skin is soft. He pulls his hand back as if burned. "What is your name?" he asks again, his voice softer now, meant only for her. "Elara Vance," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "You are no longer employed here," he says. She flinches, expecting the final blow, the loss of her job. "You work for me now." It is not a question. It is a decree. He turns and walks away, leaving her standing alone in the center of a silent, staring ballroom, her world irrevocably shattered and remade in the span of 5 minutes. The drive to his penthouse is a silent, tense affair. Elara sits in the back of a luxury sedan that feels more like an armored vehicle, the leather seats cold against her skin. Julian drives, his eyes fixed on the road, his presence as comforting as a granite wall. Damien sits beside her, a chasm of expensive upholstery between them, yet she feels his presence like a brand. He has not spoken a word since his declaration in the ballroom. Her mind is a maelstrom of confusion and fear. She has lost her catering job. She has made a powerful enemy in Isabella Thorne, And she has somehow been claimed by a man who radiates more danger than anyone she has ever met. She thinks of Leo, of the eviction notice. Desperation wars with terror. What has she gotten herself into? The car glides into a private, subterranean garage and stops before a dedicated elevator. Damien gets out and she follows numbly, her worn flats silent on the polished concrete. The elevator ascends in a smooth, silent rush, the numbers climbing at a dizzying rate. It opens directly into a sprawling penthouse that is less a home and more a monument to wealth and isolation. Floor-to-ceiling windows reveal a breathtaking panorama of the city, its lights a carpet of scattered jewels. The space is vast, decorated in stark shades of charcoal, black and chrome. It is beautiful, immaculate, and utterly devoid of warmth. It is the home of a man who does not live, but merely presides. "Drink," Damien commands, gesturing to a crystal decanter on a minimalist bar. She shakes her head. He studies her for a long moment, his gaze analytical, as if he is trying to solve a complex puzzle. "You are in trouble," he states. "Financial. I had Julian run a background check. Your brother, Leo. His medical needs. The impending eviction." Alara flinches, feeling exposed, violated. "Why are you doing this? What do you want from me?" "I want to offer you a contract," he says, ignoring her question. He retrieves a sleek black folder from a drawer and places it on a glass table. "I require a caretaker for my grandmother. She has difficulties, memory loss. She requires constant patient supervision." He opens the folder. It is a formal employment contract. She sees the salary figure, and her breath catches in her throat. It is an astronomical sum, enough to pay off all their debts, to get Leo the best doctors, to secure their future for years to come. It is a lifeline. It is a miracle. Then she sees the other clauses. A strict non-disclosure agreement, a requirement to live on site. The term of employment is indefinite, and a final, chilling sentence. The employee will be under the exclusive protection and authority of Damien Blackwood, and all prior associations and freedoms are hereby forfeit for the duration of the contract. It is not a job offer. It is a bill of sale for her life. A gilded cage. "You want to own me," she says, the words a stark realization. "I want to protect you," he counters, his voice devoid of emotion. "Isabella and her family will not forgive what happened tonight. They will try to hurt you. In my world, weakness is an invitation for attack. By standing up for that boy, you painted a target on your back. By associating you with me, I have made that target infinitely larger." He looks out at the city lights. "This contract solves your problems. It solves one of mine. It places you under my roof, where I can guarantee your safety. It is a transaction. Simple. Simple. Nothing about this is simple. It is a choice between two prisons. The prison of poverty and desperation, or the prison of this cold, dangerous man." She thinks of Leo's wheezing cough in the middle of the night. She thinks of the shame of asking for another extension on the rent. She thinks of the utter hopelessness that greets her every morning. "My brother," she says, her voice trembling. "He has to be taken care of." A secure, fully furnished apartment has been arranged for him near the finest respiratory clinic in the country, Damien replies without hesitation. A full-time, registered nurse will attend to him. All his needs will be met. He will be safe. Safer than he has ever been. He has thought of everything. He has anticipated her every concern, her every weakness. He has stripped away all her reasons to say no, leaving only her fear of him. She looks at the contract, then at the man who commands empires from this sterile fortress in the sky. He is a monster. She is sure of it. But sometimes, to escape the wolves, you have to run to the dragon. "I accept," she whispers. The words feel like a surrender. Damien gives a single sharp nod. Julian will take you to your quarters. You will meet my grandmother in the morning. Your old life is over, Elara Vance. Her new life begins in a suite of rooms that are larger than her entire apartment. They are luxurious, filled with elegant furniture and priceless art. But like the rest of the penthouse, they lack any personal touch. It is a beautiful, empty space, a cage, no matter how gilded. The next morning, she meets Eleanor Blackwood. An elegant, silver-haired woman sits in a sun-drenched conservatory, surrounded by lush orchids. She has Damien's stormy eyes, but hers are clouded with confusion, her gaze distant. "Hello, dear," Eleanor says, her voice a fragile, papery whisper. "Have you seen my husband? He was supposed to take me dancing." Eleanor's husband had been dead for 30 years. Elara's heart aches. She pulls up a chair, her earlier fear of this place momentarily forgotten, replaced by a wave of compassion. "I haven't seen him," she says softly, "but my name is Elara, and these orchids are beautiful. Did you grow them yourself?" For the next few weeks, this becomes her world. The penthouse is a fortress, guarded by Julian and a team of silent, watchful men. She does not leave. Her only connection to the outside world is a daily, supervised video call with Leo, who is thriving in his new environment, his health improving dramatically. He is happy, and for that she endures the isolation. Her days are spent with Eleanor. The old woman drifts through the fog of her memories, sometimes lucid, sometimes lost in a past that only she can see. Elara learns to navigate these shifting tides with a gentle patience that no other caretaker had possessed. She doesn't correct Eleanor's delusions. She joins her in them. They have tea with long-dead friends. They read letters from a husband gone for decades. They listen to music from a bygone era. She brings life into the sterile penthouse. She fills a vase with flowers. She hums as she helps Eleanor with her garden. She bakes cookies in the state-of-the-art kitchen. The warm scent of vanilla and cinnamon, a startlingly domestic intrusion into the cold, modern space. Damien watches her from a distance. He observes her through the security feeds that pipe into his office. He stands in doorways, a silent shadow, listening to her soft voice as she calms Eleanor after a moment of panicked confusion. He sees the genuine kindness in her actions, a quality so alien in his world of transactional relationships. She is a puzzle he cannot solve. She was hired to do a job, yet she performs it with a sincerity that money cannot buy. She is his prisoner, yet she moves with a quiet grace, building a small sanctuary of warmth in the heart of his cold fortress. He finds himself altering his schedule, engineering reasons to be home when he knows she will be in the common areas. One evening, he finds her in the library, sketching in a notepad. He had Julian procure the finest art supplies for her, after discovering her abandoned passion in her background file. She is so absorbed in her work, she doesn't hear him enter. He looks over her shoulder. She is drawing a portrait of Eleanor, not as the confused woman she is, but as she must have been, proud, sharp, and full of life. She has captured a spirit that even he had forgotten. "You're very talented," he says. She jumps, startled, her cheeks flushing. "Thank you, it helps me relax." "She likes you," he says, gesturing toward the conservatory where Eleanor is sleeping peacefully. The others, they lasted a week, at most. They treated her like a patient, an object. You treat her like a person. "She is a person," Elara replies simply. They stand in a comfortable silence for a moment, a rare thing in Damien's life. He is used to silence as a weapon, a void to make others squirm. This silence is different. It is calm, peaceful. He feels the ice around his heart thin, just for a moment. It is an alarming sensation. "Why did you do it?" he asks abruptly. "At the gala. Why did you defend that boy?" You had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Elara meets his gaze, her own clear and direct, because no one else would have, because it was the right thing to do. Some things are more important than personal gain. Her simple, unshakable morality is a foreign concept to him. His entire life is built on calculated risks and personal gain. She is a living, breathing refutation of his entire worldview. And it fascinates him more than any business deal, more than any victory. He is drawn to her purity, to the light she carries within her, a light he thought had been extinguished from the world long ago. This quiet rhythm of their new lives, however, is a fragile piece. The world outside the penthouse walls has not forgotten. Enemies circle, smelling blood in the water after the public and brutal dismissal of the Thorne family. And the greatest threat is the one you never see coming, the one that wears the face of a friend. Marcus Thorne, Isabella's brother and a senior executive in Damien's legitimate enterprise, seethes with a lust for revenge. He had been Damien's protégé, his trusted lieutenant. But trust is a currency Marcus is all too willing to spend for the ultimate prize, Damien's throne. He makes a call, reaching out to a rival family, the Morettis, men Damien had crushed years ago. He offers them the one thing they crave, a way inside the fortress. The attack comes on a Tuesday night. It is brutally efficient. The perimeter alarms are bypassed with codes supplied by Marcus. The guards on the ground floor are eliminated silently. Elara is in the conservatory with Eleanor, reading an old storybook aloud when the first sound reaches them, the distinct, horrifying shatter of reinforced glass from the main living area. Before she can react, Julian bursts into the room, his face grim, a weapon in his hand. "Stay here. Lock the door," he commands, his voice tight with urgency. He shoves a small panic button into her hand. "Press this if they get through. It goes directly to him." He is gone before she can ask who he is. She hears shouting, followed by the terrifying, unmistakable sound of gunfire. It is loud, concussive, echoing through the penthouse. Eleanor begins to cry, her fragile composure shattering. "What is that noise? Is it thunder? I don't like thunder." Elara's blood runs cold, but she forces her voice to be calm. "It's okay, Eleanor. It's just a storm. We're safe in here." She guides the trembling old woman to the farthest corner of the room, behind a large potting bench, shielding her with her own body. Her heart hammers against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. Damien is in his office, a floor below, reviewing encrypted shipping manifests when the silent alarm on his watch vibrates. It is the penthouse breach alert, an impossible occurrence. His fortress has been compromised. His mind works with terrifying speed. He draws the custom pistol from a hidden compartment in his desk and checks the load. His face is a mask of cold fury, but beneath it, a primal fear he has not felt in years begins to claw its way out. Elara. Eleanor. He moves through the service corridors of the penthouse, a ghost in his own home. He can hear the firefight. Julian and his men are good, but they are outnumbered. He finds 2 of his guards down, their lives extinguished with brutal prejudice. He stalks the invaders, his movements silent and lethal. He is not a businessman now. He is the monster they whisper about in the dark corners of the city. He dispatches 2 of the Moretti soldiers with cold, economic precision, 2 silent shots to the head. The fighting is a chaotic symphony of destruction. Priceless vases shatter, bullets tear through designer furniture. Elara huddles over Eleanor, whispering reassurances she does not feel. The conservatory door, made of reinforced glass and steel, holds for a moment, then buckles under a heavy blow. The lock splinters. A man in tactical gear steps into the room, his weapon sweeping the space. His eyes land on them. A cruel smile spreads across his face. "Well, well, Look what we have here. The boss wants the old lady and the new girl. Elara's terror crystallizes into something hard and fierce. She will not let him touch Eleanor. She stands up, placing herself squarely between the gunman and the whimpering old woman. "Leave her alone," she says, her voice shaking but defiant. The man laughs. "Move, little girl. I don't have orders to keep you pretty." He reaches for her. In that moment, instinct takes over. Elara grabs the heaviest thing she can find, a thick ceramic pot, and swings it with all her might, smashing it against the side of his head. The gunman stumbles back, momentarily stunned, a trickle of blood running down his temple. His surprise quickly turns to rage. He raises his pistol, aiming it directly at her heart. Time seems to slow down. Elara sees the dark, round opening of the barrel, hears Eleanor's terrified scream. She closes her eyes, bracing for the end. A gunshot rings out, but it is not the one she expected. It is louder, closer. She opens her eyes to see the gunman collapse, a neat, dark hole appearing in the center of his forehead. Damien stands in the doorway, his face a canvas of pure, unrestrained fury. His chest is heaving, his knuckles white around the pistol he holds. His cold composure is gone, shattered. In its place is a raw, terrifying panic. He looks at her, his eyes scanning her for injuries, and the look in them is one of primal fear. The fear of loss. He crosses the room in 3 long strides, his gaze never leaving her. He doesn't check on his grandmother. He doesn't survey the damage. He only sees her. He reaches her, and his hands come up to frame her face, his touch surprisingly unsteady. "Are you hurt?" he asks, his voice a raw, ragged sound she has never heard before. She can only shake her head, her throat too tight to speak. "I thought," he begins, then stops, his jaw clenching. He cannot finish the sentence. The thought of finding her body, of being too late, is a chasm of horror he cannot bring himself to voice. All the walls he has built around his heart, all the ice and control, crumble to dust in that single, terrifying moment. The immediate threat is over, but the penthouse is a war zone. Julian, bleeding from a wound on his arm, but otherwise intact, secures the remaining area with the surviving guards. The Moretti assault team has been utterly annihilated, but Damien does not see any of it. He is still looking at Elara, his stormy eyes filled with a violent, possessive emotion that steals the air from her lungs. This is no longer about a contract. It is no longer about protection or a transaction. The thought of losing her has unlocked something savage and primal within him. Without another word, he pulls her against him. His mouth comes down on hers in a kiss that is not gentle or tender. It is a desperate, bruising act of possession. It is the kiss of a man who has stared into the abyss and seen her face. It tastes of gunpowder, fear, and a desperate, agonizing relief. It is a brand, a claim, a vow spoken in the universal language of survival. He breaks the kiss, his forehead resting against hers, both of them breathing hard. The air is thick with the metallic tang of blood and the dust of destruction. "I thought I lost you," he whispers, the confession torn from the deepest, most guarded part of his soul. He looks into her wide, shocked eyes, his hands still cradling her face as if she were the most precious, fragile thing in the world. "The contract is void," he says, his voice raw with an intensity that resonates through her entire body. "You are not my employee. You are not my prisoner." He pauses, his thumb stroking her cheekbone. "You are mine. I will burn this city to the ground before I let anyone touch you again. Do you understand?" She can only nod, her world tilting on its axis. The monster has not been tamed. He has simply found something he is willing to protect with all the ferocity of his dark soul. And that something is her. In the bloody aftermath, as Julian's men clean the wreckage and remove the bodies, the truth of the betrayal comes to light. One of the attackers, clinging to life, whispers a name under duress before he expires: Marcus Thorne. Julian finds the traitor's encrypted communications on a recovered device. The proof is undeniable. Marcus had not only provided the access codes, but had also given them the layout of the penthouse, specifically highlighting the location of Eleanor's conservatory. He had targeted Damien's only two vulnerabilities. A cold, terrifying calm settles over Damien. The panic and fear he felt for Alara now congeal into a diamond-hard point of focused rage. He has been betrayed by a man he treated like a brother. The punishment for such a transgression will be biblical. He ensures Alara and his grandmother are settled in the most secure part of the penthouse, with Julian himself standing guard at the door. He looks at Alara one last time before he leaves. "I have business to attend to," he says, his voice once again the flat, cold instrument of a king. "I will be back." The purge begins that night. Damien Blackwood unleashes the full, terrifying might of his shadow empire. He does not simply want to defeat his enemies. He wants to erase them from existence. He starts with the Moretti family. He doesn't send an army. He goes himself, with only Julian. They move through the Moretti compound, a fortress thought to be impenetrable, like specters of death. Damien is a blur of brutal efficiency. He is not fighting for territory or for money. He is fighting with the righteous fury of a man avenging a threat to the one pure thing in his life. The retribution is merciless, swift, and absolute. By dawn, the Moretti name is nothing but a bloody footnote in the city's underworld history. But he saves his most personal vengeance for last. He finds Marcus Thorne cowering in a private jet, attempting to flee the country. Damien doesn't storm the plane. He simply appears in the seat opposite Marcus as the jet taxis down the runway, a phantom born of rage. Marcus's face goes white with terror. "Damien!" "I can explain." Damien looks at him, his eyes empty of all emotion, save for a cold, deep contempt. "You targeted them," he says, the words quiet, yet heavier than any shout. "You sent men to harm an old woman. You sent men to kill her." He leans forward slightly. "You put a gun in her face." He doesn't need to say Alara's name. Marcus knows. "Did you really think there was any explanation that would save you?" Marcus begins to babble, offering money, power, loyalty he never had. Damien listens impassively, letting him unravel. Just before the jet reaches the point of no return, Damien leans in and whispers something in Marcus's ear. It is a short, cold retort, a final piece of dark wit before the end. "You wanted my throne. You should know. The crown is heavy." The jet takes off. It never lands. An unfortunate, catastrophic mechanical failure, the official report will say. No survivors. A few months pass. A quiet period of healing and transformation. The city holds its breath, aware that a war was fought and won in the shadows, that the king has reasserted his dominance in the most brutal fashion imaginable. But inside the penthouse, a different kind of reign is beginning. The cold, sterile fortress has slowly begun to change. There are flowers in every room, vibrant splashes of color against the monochrome decor. The scent of baking sometimes drifts from the kitchen. Laughter, a sound never before heard within these walls, can occasionally be found in the conservatory, where Alara and Eleanor spend their afternoons. The dynamic between Damien and Alara has shifted from one of owner and possession to something deeper, more profound. He is still possessive, his protective instincts on a hair trigger, but it is tempered with a tenderness that surprises them both. He finds himself rushing home from his business, drawn by the magnetic pull of her presence. He will sit in the library while she sketches, not speaking, just being near her. The quiet calm she exudes a balm to his tormented soul. She, in turn, is no longer the timid, invisible waitress. She has found her voice, her strength. She is not afraid of him. She sees the monster, yes, but she also sees the wounded man beneath, the man who lost a family long ago and walled off his heart to prevent it from ever happening again. She challenges his cynicism, questions his ruthless decisions, and forces him to confront the humanity he has long suppressed. She is his conscience, his anchor. He teaches her about his world, not the violence, but the power. He shows her how the pieces move on the grand chessboard of the city, how influence is wielded, how empires are built and maintained. He discovers she has a keen, intuitive mind, a sharp understanding of people and their motivations. She is not just a kind heart. She is a brilliant strategist in her own right. One evening, he takes her to her closet. It is no longer filled with the simple, functional clothes she arrived in. It is now a curated collection of designer gowns, elegant dresses, and jewelry that could ransom a king. "There is another gala tonight," he says, "at the same ballroom." She understands immediately. This is not just a party. It is a statement, a coronation. When she descends the stairs, she is transformed. She wears a gown the color of midnight, studded with tiny diamonds that glitter like a captured constellation. Her hair is styled in an elegant cascade, and a simple, stunning necklace of sapphires, the color of Damien's eyes, rests at her throat. She is no longer the invisible maid. She radiates a quiet confidence, an effortless power that has nothing to do with wealth and everything to do with self-worth. Damien is waiting for her at the bottom of the stairs. He is speechless. He has seen the most beautiful women in the world, but none of them compare to her. He sees not just her beauty, but her strength, her soul. He offers her his arm. "My queen," he says, and the words are not a jest. They are a vow. They enter the ballroom, and a hush falls over the crowd. It is the same room where she was a servant, where she was humiliated. Now she enters on the arm of its king. Whispers follow them, a mixture of awe, fear, and envy. They see Elara not as Damien's latest conquest, but as something more. They see the way he looks at her, with a devotion and adoration that is almost frightening in its intensity. They see a partner, an equal, a queen. During the evening, Elara excuses herself for a moment. She sees a young waitress, much like she once was, nervously trying to navigate the crowd, her hands trembling as she holds her tray. A pompous guest is berating her for being too slow. Elara walks over, her presence immediately silencing the man. She doesn't say a word to him. She simply gives him a look, a cool, appraising glance that carries all the weight of Damien Blackwood's power. The man pales and melts back into the crowd. Elara then turns to the waitress and gives her a small, reassuring smile. "Breathe," she says softly. "You're doing just fine." She straightens the young woman's apron, a simple, kind gesture. "Don't let them get to you. You are more than they see." The waitress looks at her, her eyes wide with gratitude and surprise. In that moment, Elara proves that she can wear the crown without losing the kindness that placed it on her head. She has not been corrupted by this world of power. She has brought her own light into it. Later that night, back in the penthouse, they stand on the balcony, the city spread out beneath them. It is his kingdom, their kingdom. But Damien is not looking at the view. He is looking at her. "I never knew what it was to live," he says, his voice quiet and heavy with emotion. "I only knew how to survive, how to conquer. My life was a fortress, just like this building. Empty, cold." He takes her hand, his touch now gentle, sure. "You walked in and you tore down the walls. You brought light into the darkness. You saved me, Elara." We saved each other, she replies, her fingers lacing with his. The monster is not gone. He is still there, a sleeping dragon beneath the surface, ready to emerge to protect his queen, his family. But he is no longer the master of the house. The penthouse is no longer a fortress. It is a home. It is filled with the sound of Eleanor humming to her orchids, the smell of Ilara's sketching charcoal, and the quiet, steady presence of a man who has finally found a reason to live, not for an empire, but for a family. The king has found his heart. The unbreakable dove has found her throne, and in the silent kingdom in the sky, a new reign of love and light has begun.